Okay, so this video will be about psychedelics, right? Like LSD in particular, because it's what I know the most about. Since there are some people that would like to know this, I might do a live stream in the future because I might not hit every point and be able to talk about everything, right? Um, but LSD is definitely something for sure. But before I get too far into this video, I don't condone it unless you're a dirty whore, whatever. Like, oh my god. No, you probably shouldn't do it, whatever. YouTube's guideline bullshit. I mean, this is just stuff that I've learned, right? I'm just talking about things I've learned. I can't control what anybody else is gonna do out there. And fucking when you watch videos, we're like, oh, you shouldn't do this. Blah, blah, blah. It's stupid. I know it's fucking dumb. People are gonna make their own choices. I can't control what someone's gonna do. So I'm just gonna talk about my experiences with it and what it makes me feel like and what I understand from it, from LSD, right? What I understand. Some other people that have done it may understand it the same way. I don't know it, but once you embark on that journey, once you go down the psychedelic rabbit hole, as I would call it, um, there are pros and cons to it. I would say because it can definitely beat you down for sure. It can definitely be a brutal experience, as well as a very loving experience as well. So I will get into it here. I actually wanted to talk about ego death first, right? Because when you do LSD or any psychedelics, you have an ego death. You get pulled away from your ego and emotions, like you're separated from that. And it does feel like you're dying. What I have realized about it is that there's an easy way to have an ego death and a hard way to have an ego death, right? The easiest way I found is to wear yourself out. So, say that you're working all the time, whatever, and you were to come home and you're completely tired, right? You're completely exhausted that day. You know, you've been working your butt off. You're just exhausted. You're ready to go to bed. It's best to do it when you're really tired before you go to bed because if you do it, fall asleep, having an ego death while sleeping is easier than being awake and having an ego death, right? Because if you're awake and you feel like you're dying, you want to hold on, and it shakes your very fucking foundation of who you are, right? I know I'm a fucking man and I'll handle my fucking shit, but it just starts shaking everything. It's like you're looking in a mirror, holding on to the counter, and everything's just fucking shaking because it's like, it's about to go down, boys! You know, so ego death can be a hard thing, right? It can spike your anxiety and all that. It can be a very hard experience, but it's also a good thing, right? Like, because then you learn that you're not a quitter, right? I already know I'm not a quitter. I'm probably going to be all over the place with this video. Um, but that's what I found to be the easier way to have ego death versus a hard ego death and stuff like that. I'm only going to touch on a few things in this video. I don't know how long I'm going to make it, but I know I'm going to probably throw jokes in there, stuff like that. But it does shake your very foundation of who you are. That's why a lot of people can't handle LSD, right? And a lot of people that think that they're still tripping afterwards, right? You've opened a door, right? You've opened that door. You can't close it. You know, once it's open, you know all the possibilities because you're with LSD. You're connecting to yourself in the deepest way possible, right? You could do this through meditation, essentially. You could really do meditation and do it, but psychedelics would be a faster way to get there because you realize things way faster, right? Time really slows down. Um, let's see. when time slows down, it could feel like days have went by too, especially after you have your ego death. So when you go into peak, um, and you have that ego death and you die, which I've died in this bathroom many of times. Um, but in many days it can feel like years have went by. You won't actually know. That it's good to have a trip sitter, especially if you were gonna do higher doses. You should definitely have a trip sitter. You don't necessarily need one if you're experienced enough with it and you're able to let go, but that's a hard thing to teach yourself is to let go. Um, because I've had a lot of good trips, but still one of my favorite trips is my bad trip I had, right? I know a lot of people say there's no bad trip. Technically, there's not a bad trip because everything teaches you, just sometimes it teaches you in a more brutal way. Because it's really, there's two sides of the same coin, right? Good and evil. And you can see this a lot with psychedelics as a duality, right? You really see a lot of duality. Like for me, I could see a carnival, right, that looks all nice and wonderful, and then just it's like I'm just going like this, right? Like I'm just twisting this thing and it's just spinning the coin, and it's going from lovely to gruesome and just dark and all that. Most of the time, as long as you're staying separate from the mess, from that chaos that you see, as long as you're observing, you're fine. It's once you get too involved with that is when things can turn bad. Um, but I will say that during that trip was one of the deepest trips I've had because of the fact that I tripped so hard I visually felt the electricity in my body. I visually felt the neurons firing in my brain. I've done so much of it at this point that even taking aspirin, I can feel the where it numbs my head. I feel all this. Getting into the numbness that I feel from other things is I realize that we're doing things every single day that do numb us. That's why it's hard for us to handle real emotions and real situations. Like, how do I put this? Um, when you're connected to yourself on the deepest level, like you know what emotions truly deeply feel like, because LSD will just make you know what it's like to actually have skin, what it feels like to have skin, what it feels like to breathe. Something I learned from that with different trips I've had is that when your whole body feels like it's having an orgasm, just like being alive, you feel it in your bones, like you feel your skin, you feel everything as if your whole body is having an orgasm, right? It really feels like that because it feels so good to be alive. Like it's when I meditate now, I can kind of get close to that state, like it just feels so good to be alive. Um, But that's like the feminine part of us, right? Like whether you're a guy or a girl, we have a submissive nature to us. Because there are situations where being submissive is a good thing, right? Um, but I've also had trips to where I can just feel my testosterone rage, and I feel like I'm on fire because of all that testosterone coursing through my veins. Just, I'm a fucking man and I need a fuck. You know, like these are different things I've felt. Right? I'm a very sexual person by nature. I have a lot of sexual thoughts. I act very sexual a lot. I make a lot of sexual jokes. It's just who I am by nature, right? I've also learned a lot about myself through it. You can feel like a man, you can feel like a child, you can feel a lot of different ways. I will say it is kind of hard for someone that would be bipolar or would have something similar to bipolar from PTSD, in the sense that when it feels like you're on a roller coaster ride, being bipolar, you already feel like you're on this roller coaster, you're ups and downs, ups and downs. LSD has helped me with that for the most part because I felt everything at the deepest level. Now, if I get too much anxiety and I start having like PTSD episodes from my past, I rapid cycle, right? And I would say it takes about a week for me to get back to where I need to be, right? It depending on how high my anxiety is. Sometimes it's not that high, so I can just kind of, whatever. But sometimes it'll get so high that anxiety, it shakes my very core. And then anxiety can turn to rage, and rage can turn to bloodlust for the fact that of all the toxic situations I've been in my life, so if someone's toxic around me, it can bring that level of anxiety out, that type of anxiety, right? I'm probably getting too off topic here, but you can feel a lot of different ways, right? What else did I want to talk about on here? I really might do a live stream about this because it'd probably be easier for me to talk about a lot of things when people ask me questions, What else? I mean, feeling things on the deepest level really is something. But, see, psychedelics isn't for everybody, but if everybody was doing this, world would be a way different place. Because I know where toxicity leads to, right? It ends in blood, really. That's the way I would put it. It's people that are with someone that's making them toxic and no one wants to fix themselves, right? Psychedelics will show you this. It'll show you anything toxic in you, right? It brings you face to face with it. That's why I say a bad trip is one of the best trips because it'll throw it in your fucking face. It'll put you through boot camp, right? It'll get you ready enough, right, to get through what you're about to go through. Because what you're about to go through is going to be hell, right? It's going to feel like hell. That's how I came face to face with a lot of my problems. I still think about it a lot now, right? Like being dragged through the fucking mud, man. But I also learned during that trip who the fuck I am, that I'm not a quitter, that when I have a job, I'm going to get up every fucking day to do that fucking job, okay? Because I'm a real man and I handle my shit and I'll shovel through it because I don't give a fuck. Because a real man handles his shit. Like that's what a man is essentially. He handles his shit. He doesn't get involved with things that he does not need to be involved with, right? All this drama people get involved with. You can say the same for a woman. A real woman is someone that can handle her shit. She handles it and then moves on. That's why I think if psychedelics were legalized and stuff like that, a lot of stuff would be a lot different. It would be a way to heal as well. You can feel very broken the next day, right? After a bad trip, it really breaks you down because it also depends on the dose that you do. If you do a higher dose, the most I've done is 30 hits. I didn't mean to do 30 hits, but when you're doing psychedelics, sometimes you can go a little further than you mean to at times. Especially when you don't know the person that you got it from or whatever, and it looks like there's a little bit in there, 5-10 hits, and you're used to the vial being full or whatever, you're like, oh, maybe it evaporated a bit, or maybe they just gave me a little bit this time or whatever, right? Because I usually, would buy a lot of it, $500 a time, if not more, right? But that trip was hard. It wasn't a bad trip, right? I would say my 30 hit was a hard trip for the fact that I literally was in and out of ego death for 24 hours. That was one of the hardest trips ever because I literally came to and then died again, felt myself die again, came to and then died again. I was back and forth with ego death, right? Which is crazy, by the way. I can definitely make a video on my bad trip itself, talking strictly about that. But my 30 hit was a hard trip. And for the next 2 days after the first day of just in and out of ego death, I had the after effect of after peak. So after peak, you usually can see things moving and breathing and stuff like that and shifting around and stuff like that, which is really cool, but it's not something that like there's a point when you just want it to end. If it goes on for too long and you see this repetitive cycle over and over and over and over and over and over again, that really beats you down, right? Like sometimes it's hard to fully let go. Even if you let go so many times, it beats you down. After 30 hits for me, I was sobbing the next day because of all the PTSD that I have to work through, right? It definitely does help me, but it was a hard trip. Not gonna lie. So you do want to be careful if you do it, because I usually do liquid, not tabs, right? You know, because liquid hits you way different than tabs do. Tabs is very subtle, pretty easy. It feels very subtle. It still is. It's still pretty much the same level of a trip. It's just the way it hits you. It feels a lot different. Um, but if anybody did do it, you can never do too little. You can always do too much, especially if you're not ready. You know, it's something you got to build up to. There's things you have to learn about yourself first, and things you have to learn before you could go that far. Um, and it's a wonderful experience. Like I truly love doing LSD, right? Like I really do love it. But I don't really need to do it to see these repetitive cycles and see things playing out the way they do. Like you end up seeing patterns, right? You see how someone acts, you see things that go on. If you do enough of it, like I said, it can cleanse your whole body. And then when you even consume aspirin, you can feel the numbingness of that, right? You can feel these things. Like my medicine I take will numb my face if I take too much, right? My brain will be numb, like right up in here will be kind of numbish. My face will start getting numb. Alcohol, I can feel that flood whenever I drink it. Stuff like that. Bourbon's different. I can handle bourbon better than beer. Beer just doesn't feel good in my brain. I don't like it. It doesn't. It also depends on the beer. But I don't really drink anymore, right? Like psychedelics has kind of got me away from it for the most part. I do have a drink occasionally. I did challenge myself recently to do a shot every time I seen a dick on Omegle. That's more than enough alcohol for me for a little while, right? like, um, I did have a few drinks last night while writing some stuff down for this to make sure I hit certain points. I was like, I really just need to stay awake a little longer, so I drink a little bit to help me stay awake a little bit longer and to think about some of this so I could explain it to people because people want me to. But I also understand that where I come from as a person, which I believe that LSD doesn't only show you yourself, right? But it shows where you come from, right? Psychedelics can show you where you come from. But you have to be open to it, right? When you do psychedelics, you have to be wanting to face any problem, no matter how scary that problem is. I have to face my PTSD, right? I have to face the trauma from my past. It may not be the easiest thing in the world, but I know if I can deal with it, I'll become way better. And it is a weight lifted off of my shoulders doing this and learning that, hey, if I just deal with this, right, and I don't run from it, I just handle it really quickly and kind of deal with it. Like sometimes I'll put it off, sure, I'll put off my emotions and stuff a little bit, depending on things that are going on around me. I haven't been able to do my microdose here recently because of some things in my life that have been a little hectic and there's been some toxicity around me, and I've had to get people to not be toxic around me because I'm trying to give someone a chance and stuff like that. So, because I am a nice person, right? I'm nice. But my core being will make me put my fucking foot down because a real man is like, hey, you want to be toxic? You wanna do this dumb shit? You could do it somewhere else, right? Like a real man and a real woman knows how to put their foot down and when to do it, right? Like you kind of learn these things from doing psychedelics, but you can't be scared of what you feel. If you feel it, just kind of let it happen, right? Like let whatever you feel happen. Like I usually feel orgasmic a lot, so I kind of it's another reason why I had to kind of slow down on how many hits I took because feeling that hypersexual when I'm already a hypersexual person, that's pretty crazy. Um, but it can make. I would also say this: LSD on sex to me feels like what a hentai looks like, right? So if you think about a hentai to where they're licking and the saliva's thicker and all that, and it seems like it feels so amazing, right? That's basically what LSD sex is, right? But what LSD is doing is just making you feel it, right? For me, I've had some experiences, the things I've seen while having sex on 5 hits of acid, right? So 5 hits of liquid acid. I had sex, and I realized that for me, sex is a competition, right? Like I gotta fucking work for that nut. I gotta put in the effort for that nut. I want to bust a nut. I gotta work for it. I'll make that bitch work for it too. You gonna fucking drain this dick dry. You gonna wring my nuts out like I'm a dirty bitch. Nah, you know? But I also understand why people would go vegan as well from doing psychedelics. Though I don't think you need to, it's just what meat you consume and how much of it, right? For me, after a peak trip or whatever, after my peak, I could have did fucking 6 hits. Sometimes I still want me a bloody fucking steak because I'm a man. I'll fucking tear into a bloody steak, a nice rare steak, just you know, because I don't give a fuck. I'm a man and I need me a fucking steak, right? Venison probably tastes the best, like meat wise so far that I've tasted. Hamburger, well, I mean beef steak is okay, but it kind of makes me feel kind of meh, a little bit like you feel like a cow, right? I'm saying this because you feel everything, and your stomach is connected to your brain in a lot of ways. There is it's connected to your brain heavily. Like your stomach and brain are connected in a lot of ways. Um, but when you're tripping, right, you end up feeling where food comes from, right? Like you can taste where that food comes from. You can get imagery. You can visually feel where that comes from, right? You can visually feel, visually taste. So you can feel the taste. You can see the taste. Um, there's a lot of these things you can get from psychedelics, but I've also gone way deeper than the fucking average person that probably does it, right? I've gone pretty fucking deep with it. Um, but like if I drink milk, I don't drink too much milk anymore. Like I still love chocolate milk, don't get me wrong, but it does make me feel like I'm fucking slugging away. I don't really eat pork all that much anymore. I'll eat pork every now and again, but it has to be cooked a certain way. So if it's soul food pork, I can eat it fine, but I really just don't eat pork all that much anymore. And that's just something that I can feel how dirty the meat is, you know, like the fat and all that in it. Like my body doesn't break down pork as easily as it does beef, right? Like I can break down beef pretty easily, but and I can still eat plenty of chicken. Chicken's fine too. I can eat squirrel. I can eat, you know, deer, you know, so venison. I love wild game, right? Like that tastes the best to me, you know. Even, you know, duck. And there's a lot of things I can eat. I just pig is just I don't know what boar would be like, but I think it'd probably be similar, maybe, but not that I wouldn't like eating it, right? It's not like it tastes disgusting. It's just my body doesn't break it down as well. And I notice this. So that's something you have to keep in mind with psychedelics, right? Um, so I eat more fruits and vegetables now for sure. I will say one of the most intoxicating things. Okay, so LSD, I should bring this up. at this point. I'm sorry if it seems like I'm rambling, but I'm trying to get a point across and stuff like that. And I'm following a train of thought as I do this, right? So LSD is very intoxicating. I would call it a bittersweet nectar, right? Because even if you have a bad trip with it and you come out of it, you'll be like, oh my God, this is so fucking intoxicating. Because it can make it feel like you've done a bender of like so many different drugs, right? Like it can make you feel like you've just overdid it. It will tell you, like LSD will tell you that you've gone too far or you're doing too much or whatever. Because it'll make you feel like an actual addict. Like it does. But you also have to have an intention when you go into it as well. Like, are you trying to learn something? Are you trying to face something? You want to feel good when you trip, obviously, but sometimes if you're in a bad state and you can have a trip sitter, maybe you should have a bad trip. I wouldn't suggest it unless you possibly want to live hell, right? Um, but it is very intoxicating. I'm not gonna lie, it is extremely intoxicating. I can only speak on LSD because I haven't got to do shrooms yet. I haven't done DMT or anything, so I can't really speak on those. But I assume they're probably similar in a lot of ways to LSD. I just know LSD is more like a stimulant feeling, right? It can make you feel more uppity. I would say most of my trips were good. I've had a really hard one with the 30, but I've gone like 15 deep with liquid. But I mean, that's when I was falling asleep. That's why I mentioned easy ego death, right? An easy one is you're already tired, you're getting ready to fall asleep. I basically like fell asleep sitting up in my room, right? Um, and I was tripping hard. I went fucking deep with it, right? But I was tired. I was exhausted. I was pretty much gonna fall asleep anyways, because it can kind of make you slightly drowsy, and it's best to close your eyes and just kind of to let go. I would say that there is some music that's really good to let go. That'll make it easier to let go. Like there's DMT music and stuff like that that makes it easy to let go. There's a couple of them in particular that I listen to that help. Right? They help relax the body because they you can actually feel these beats massage your brain. You can feel it, especially if you're really in tune with your body. You can feel where music stimulates the brain, like what sounds stimulate the brain and how they stimulate the brain. I'm not the best at articulating things, but I'm trying my best. There's a lot of things with LSD though, like to be able to visually feel and taste and know where that food comes from and what kind of hard work went into that, the type of people that created that food, the type of people that eat that food. It's it's pretty crazy, like but I doing LSD and feeling feminine. I want to get back to this point here because it kind of came to me. The femininity thing is what when I think about people that are trans or they're very submissive, and they want to, or that they identify as whatever gender nowadays, right? Which is pretty stupid. All this stuff is pretty insignificant. Like none of it really matters. Like when you do psychedelics, you realize, well, none of this really matters, and all of this has happened before, and it's all going to happen again. Like, it's just the same shit over and over again. But a lot of people probably just confused with what they're feeling and what part of them that is, right? Like, because I feel feminine, right? Like, I feel like I'm having an orgasm as a female on acid, right? Especially if I'm submissive, if I'm being submissive and stuff like that. Um, but a lot of times I have that just pure aggression, just I'm a man sort of feeling, all that testosterone. So just really, it probably depends on your hormones that day too, how you're feeling overall. I know if I'm feeling very sexual, I typically like to be submissive at first, right, to a girl. I like to be slightly submissive. Depends on the situation, obviously, but typically I like to be more submissive, right? At least at first, because I want her to show me how much she fucking wants this, you know. I'm gonna act submissive because I want her to pin me down every now and again, right? Because I could do that all day. I could be the dominant one all day, but every now and again, it's nice to switch that up. So there are times where my body would do a thing, right? But that's also how to have a healthy relationship too, you know, like to know when to be submissive and when to put your foot down and when to act like a man and when to do this and when to do that. Man, I am all over the place. It feels like, but I'm just thinking about this stuff. A lot of it's just coming to my head. So I do believe that um, that a lot of things that people feel they're just not understanding it fully, right? There's a lot of things about the human mind we don't understand. There's a lot of things about ourselves we don't understand. But we numb ourselves with so much shit. You have no idea. Alcohol's numbing. Weed is numbing. I mean, weed, like if you were smoking weed every now and again or you have a drink every now and again, that's fine. It can actually help you out a lot. You know, it can actually help you. Um, but doing it all the time, every day, really in a way, you're just running from your problems, right? Like that's why I don't like taking medicine so much. That's why I don't really like to drink all that much. Every now and again, I will because, and I can drink bourbon, right? Bourbon's the one thing I know I can drink, and certain types of vodka, right? Certain things I can drink, and there's a reason why I can drink because of where I fucking come from, my Irish and German heritage, which is what I feel a lot from my genetics, right? Is the Irish and German. So it's like I want the gods to choose how that would be or not, you know. But it's not really that type of German either. The German I'm speaking of, though, because I know when you say German, it's what most people think. It's like gods to choose how that be. But I want to also lick your Wiener Schnitzel. How wunderbar that would be. But mine is more Amish, right? Like I can feel that part of my German heritage, right? I come from laborers. I know I've talked about this in another video, but I come from like laborers and farmers and stuff like that. I know where I come from, and that's when my core is shaking. Oh, shit's about to go down, you know, like you can feel that when you go into some trips, if they're gonna be hard or whatever, or it's gonna be a fucking ride. It's like, you know, it's like shit's about to go down. Like, oh fuck, like I gotta hold my shit. I gotta hold on for dear life here. I know what I have to do, and I have to hold on for dear life because it will shake your foundation. I hope I don't repeat too many things in this. Um, but there's a lot of things. So I had the COVID-19 test, right? While on acid, by the way. This is during my 30 hits of acid. I visually felt that fucking thing in there. Like, I visually felt it. I seen it in there. I seen inside my nose. I seen exactly what that looks like, right? It does make me wonder, though, right? If we go back to the past, we know other people did psychedelics all throughout history. How many people that are really smart did psychedelics, and because they visually felt things and visually taste, feeling taste, and seeing taste is crazy. By the way, that itself is fucking mind blowing. Um, I don't know if everybody would feel that, but I guess you could feel it. But a lot of people probably couldn't see it unless they went so deep with psychedelics, with LSD in particular. Like I said, I only know about LSD really. I would love to do shrooms and stuff, and we all know I would crank it up to like fucking my first time would probably be like 4 or 5 grams, and then to have a real fucking experience, right? Just that a good experience. Whether it's brutal or not, it wouldn't matter. Like, you know, But when you do psychedelics, you feel like you've already lived this life, right? But I already felt like that as a child. I felt as a child, I've been here, right? This all seems familiar. Like I've already lived this life. It just that's what it felt like growing up. Is I've already lived this. So I'm just kind of going along, whatever, la da da, just kind of going along. Um, but psychedelics can make you feel that way, and also psychedelics. I would say once you open that door, you can see possibilities happening in front of you, like different possibilities that can happen. I've had a few instances where I can basically see how conversations are going to play out, and this was is without being on it. When you're on it and you're going through peak or whatever on it, um, and someone's talking to you, you can see every single way that could play out, right? And a lot of times you can finish their sentence before they do because you can kind of see it playing out, right? It just shows you all the possibilities, right? Because there's patterns, right? And your brain picks up on all these patterns. Subconsciously, you're always picking up on small things, right? Always. Um, so you so even not being on it, once you go so far with it, I do believe that you can eventually just you kind of see all the patterns in real life, right? You can kind of guess when things are gonna happen, right? Like I was going to my therapy appointment and I thought my mind was fucking with me at first, right? Like I thought I seen the lights for the train. I was a good little ways away, so the train would have been pretty far away too. It wouldn't have honked or anything like that. I wouldn't have heard it, especially with my headphones on, right? Um, but I seen like it looked like it flashed for a second. I was like, wait, what? I was like, is a train gonna show up? Like so I just kind of guessed on that, and then sure enough, as I got closer, I heard the train and all that. And then the thing came down, the thing started lighting up. So in a way, I kind of seen what was going to happen, like the different possibilities of things that could happen, right? Not that I'm predicting the future per se. I wouldn't call it that. I would just say that you're able to see more possibilities in front of you on a regular basis. You could see how a lot of things can play out. Um, Easier because your mind will work differently afterwards. There was someone that did ask me a question about what does it do to your brain, right? What are the long term effects of it? Well, I'd say the long term effects of doing LSD in particular is a lot of times, well, most of the time, I can basically remember a lot of moments and know exactly what time that happened, right? To know exactly what time something happened, that's great memory right there. To know the exact time it was this time, this was happening. Like you remember more details overall. That is something that can happen with psychedelics. Now, I think that this is my hypothesis, theory, whatever the fuck you want to call it, because I'm pretty stupid, okay? Um, but I think in a way, microdosing or doing psychedelics, guided sessions with psychedelics, so having a therapist or a psychiatrist um, do a guided session of it, right? Um, would be good for people that are schizophrenic because you could help them find who they are at their core, who they really are. You can kind of get rid of all that other noise, and you can kind of help them learn how to cope in society more. Now, some people probably are way too far gone, but it wouldn't. I don't think it would hurt to try to do these tests to try to help them find who they actually are and stuff like that because you can get rid of a lot of negativity in your brain. I don't really have a lot of negative thoughts. I have dark thoughts, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of gruesome dark thoughts, but I don't usually think of negative things anymore. I don't really get depressed anymore. I pretty much fixed that real quick with that bad trip. Like depression, no more. If I keep being depressed, this is how my life is going to turn out. Um, and I do think that the brain works on the quantum level as well. There's things about the brain we don't understand, but think that it works on the quantum level, but I could just be a moron too. I do talk to myself a lot uh, as well, and I realize that after doing psychedelics, I don't talk to myself as much. I still talk to myself. I'm still ridiculous and stuff, but I'm able to quiet my mind more in and stuff like that, so I can get into more of a meditative state and be in a calm state sometimes. Well, a lot more often, not sometimes, but just more often than I could before, right? Like before, it's like there's so much going on up here, and sometimes I felt like I was gonna fucking lose it, because there's so much going on, so much noise, so many thoughts. How do I stop it? How do I slow it down? What do I do? I got so much shit I'm dealing with, and then it makes you anxious, and then you have all this chaotic emotions, but it's because you're getting too involved in it all. You're getting too involved with all that noise. You wanna separate from the chaos, which psychedelics can help you do for sure. But if you do it right, since I can't stop anybody from doing something they want to do, just be very careful about it. I mean, you want to make sure that you are comfortable where you're at. You want to make sure that you're very comfortable with where you're at. You want to make sure that you're in a good state of mind. You feel good. You actually feel good, because if your body's lying to you, which sometimes your body will lie to you and tell you that you're doing fine when you're not. Um, you know, I don't think I've covered everything in this video, but I don't think I want to go on too much longer. It kind of feels like I'm rambling and stuff like that. But um, there is definitely a lot of stuff that you can learn from psychedelics, but you have to be wanting to learn and to face your problems. You can't run from it, right? Sometimes it's okay to numb yourself for the moment, to kind of hold something back, but you still have to deal with it, right? As long as you are wanting to deal with your problems, okay, I can't deal with it at this moment, but I have to make time to deal with it. That should always be a goal in life, anyways. Is like, if you have an issue, maybe you can't deal with it at that moment, try to put it aside for the moment, but make sure that you make time in the near future to deal with it, or it's going to cause you more problems down the road. I know I was toxic in my past a bit. I had some issues. Now, there's a difference between shit talking and other stuff like that, uh, you know, but like, man, it's such a wonderful experience. Though right now it's kind of hard for me to want to do more hits, especially with a lot of stuff that's going on in my life. If I was gonna do it, I need to be pretty much alone, right? Like, I really am happy with being alone. I'm very satisfied with that. Sure, having a significant other would be great, but if they're not in the psychedelics and they don't understand any of that, they could put me in a bad trip, especially if I did it and I was about to go into it and they did something. The worst thing anybody could do, one of the worst things someone could do, is, for instance, if you were dating someone and you were doing psychedelics and you were on it. This is actually a horrifying thing, because I know what this would feel like on psychedelics. It would be fucking traumatizing. And that person's really toxic if they do this, or evil, or whatever, right? Is to break up with you and tell you a bunch of shit before you go into a trip, because it will be bad, right? You'll be like, oh shit, especially if you really care about this person. If they do that, there was a girl I was with that said things before I started tripping or after my peak. And if I would have been going into peak when she said some of these things, it would have been one of the hardest things to deal with, because it's like if you were to have a mirror, two mirrors, right? Or cameras, or whatever, and you're looking down and you turn, that trickles and trickles and trickles. It just trickles down for a while, right? It's just a do 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 do. It'll just keep going. That's why I say be careful, but it's one of those things. Like, if you're around the wrong crowd and you're doing it, it can put you in a bad state. Um, you know, but I don't know, did I cover everything? I don't know if I've covered everything. I would say that you should definitely fast if you're going to do psychedelics. You should definitely fast. I would say probably at least a 16-hour fasting on average, especially like a week before you do the psychedelic. If you plan on doing it, you should, if you're going to do psychedelics every week or however you want to do it, right? Microdosing is good because if you do it enough, you can eventually clear your brain without fully tripping hard. You will definitely become more caring with it with doing microdosing as well. I like microdosing. It's one of my things I enjoy doing. But I do enjoy my trips. Like I do enjoy having a trip, an actual trip. Um, but you can clear out all the numbness and you become a more caring person. You become more empathetic, right? Um, Overall, right? You can become a you'll understand that hey, look, I'm an asshole, whatever. I'm a dick, but when shit needs to get done, it needs to get fucking done, right? Um that's why I always say I'm a man that shovels snow. I'll shovel through my shit. Um let's see. I don't know what else I can cover right now, but I mean there is of plenty of more things I could probably talk about, like some of the things I've seen and kind of where certain things come from and stuff based on what I have eaten while on psychedelics and stuff like that. I could talk about some of that. But psychedelics, you never forget, right? You might not remember every detail of the trip itself, right? Because there's so much that happens during a trip, but a lot of times some of those things will kind of come in at different points as you go on with your normal life, right? They're like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, that's what that means. All right. Like there's a lot of imagery and stuff you'll see, and I call them like little snippets, right? Little snippets of things. Like I felt like a used up hooker. I felt like a used up hooker that smokes cigarettes. I've just fucking been through the ringer. Bleh. You know, I felt that like when you trip, you visually feel everything. It's almost like you have your own movies going. There's like a bunch of clips that'll happen. Like you'll feel the moisture of your lips, right? So if you lick your lips and as it dries, you can feel that on such a deep level that it'll give you like imagery, right? Like snippets of things. You won't always remember everything in that. Some of them you can, like for me, I remember some of them, but some of them are really hard to describe, right? For me, I'm not very articulate, right? I'm not good at saying all this stuff, but there's a lot of things with LSD, right? It can really like you can feel everything. It does make you produce more saliva and stuff like that. Um, it can definitely make you produce more semen as well. Let's just say I've done my research on that one. I've done that thoroughly, I must say. Well, when it comes to hentai, I mean, you gotta do your research. Nah, I masturbated because it felt amazing. But I realized how much I come, and I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot. Um, but it's just there's just a lot of things I've learned. I really need to have more sex on acid because there's more things I can learn with that. I didn't have the full experience of what it is, but I could feel my testosterone. I had a bull, like I was a bull fighting almost. Like I seen some of that imagery. I felt uh, the girl's electricity in her body. Like I was tripping so hard that I was. This is going to be hard to describe. A lot of people think I've lost it. Right? Okay, now let me try to describe this the best I can. So we have electrical networks that go through us, obviously, right? We have a bunch of all that. Now, while I was having sex with this chick, I not only did I feel her electricity in her body, but my body matched her electricity, right? It matched on that level. Like I matched her heartbeat, her rhythm. I could feel my body matching hers. Sex is a very intimate thing. It's a very deep thing. It really is. You have no idea how deep sex really is. This is something I want to explore more because there's some crazy shit with this that I want to figure out more of. But I seen like it was almost like I had this like I was in a movie and I seen like an X-ray vision of her in a way. Like I could see through her. I could see all the electricity in her body. I could see her blood pulsating. I could see her skeletal structure. Like it would like flash for me. But it was because everything in your brain is connected, right? Everything is connected when you're on psychedelics. So having sex in psychedelics will give you imagery to explain things that are happening um, during sex. It is a very intimate and deep thing because if you're having sex, like if I had sex with someone that did psychedelics with me, it would be one of the deepest experiences we could have together. It'd be a great bonding experience. It truly would be. But you can feel definitely drained the next day. But for me, after I have sex on LSD, if I don't get enough sex, I'm gonna be very horny for like the next week, like way hornier than I normally am. And I'm gonna really want to fuck, just fucking, just fucking put that rope in their mouth and ride them like an animal. Yeah, just fucking, you know. But yeah, there's a lot there. I have to actually think about the sex stuff more, and I do want to experience it again at some point. I truly do because there's so much more to learn. Like depending on what you do while you're on psychedelics, you can get a lot of different imagery. Like you can feel like you're wringing your nutsack out. You can feel like you're draining yourself of all these chemicals. Just you can feel it. You can visually feel it. Sometimes you can taste feelings and you can hear colors, like there's so much to it. Like it goes deep, man. But I've also gone really fucking deep with it, deeper than most people could probably handle. It's not easy going that deep. That's all I'm saying. But I hope I explained some things pretty well. I don't know if I did it justice because I'm not very good at articulating. Right? I'm stupid, dumb. I stupid monkey. It's like I stupid. How thing work? That's how I feel, right? It's like I'm learning about my body. I'm understanding things on a deeper level with psychedelics. I still don't think I'm smart, right? I'm just as stupid as everybody else, right? I'm just as dumb. I'll still do dumb shit. It is what it is, right? Um, Even if I do feel like psychedelics made me smarter, I think it just helps you realize things more instead of actually just making you smarter. You might just realize things about yourself more and realize how things work in the world more, right? Um, I don't know how to explain everything either. God, there's so many things I want to try to explain, but I don't know if I can. Um, because we're all dumb in the end. I don't care how many PhDs you have. I don't care how many books you can read, all the big words you know. That doesn't matter. You're still stupid, all right? We're smarter than what we think, but we're also way dumber than what we think as well. All these people that create these robots and this technology think they're so smart, think that they can outsmart a robot at some point when they're developing this AI that could take over the world. I think it should work with us, not against us or whatever, and we shouldn't do stupid shit. But we're going to, and we'll probably go damn near extinct from it. I'm sure if we develop technology to that point, we'll almost go extinct from it. It'll be this endless cycle, but it could also be something from the future influencing us in the past with technology. Like, how do we know that the universe in the future isn't influencing us in the past here? Because we don't understand time that well. I will say that. I may be stupid, but I also understand we don't know shit about time. Time can go forwards and backwards and up and down, and it's time is a crazy thing because we only know time in the third dimension. How does time work in other dimensions? That's something you got to think about, really. How does time work in other dimensions? And there's a lot of thoughts you get when you're on psychedelics too. You get a lot of different thoughts, and I ponder a lot of them. And I've always just pondered stupid shit, anyways. Hell, I looked up on Google how big a whale's dick is because I was bored. All right, like how big is a whale penis? How big's a sperm whale penis? 13 feet, weighs about 800 pounds. Holy shit! I think I'd do cocaine off of it. You think I could? Yeah, well, I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna suck it. Um, oh man, yeah, time is just it's different than what we think, right? It's just not. It's not. In a way, I believe that time is like everything that happened in the past has already happened, and everything that's happened in the future has already happened. No matter which way everything plays out, it's all been done, right? It's what it seems like. But these are just thoughts that we have, and we don't really know how time works. If we did, there could be something influencing us from the future, kind of trickling to the past. Um, and I got that thought from while I was tripping, I had this dream that I used to have as a child pop up, right? I did have that happen to where I'd be like laying in a creek or whatever. It was usually during fall, right? I would see it more during fall or like early spring as things are just starting to bud or whatever. I would only see the dream in those times. I didn't really see it during the winter. I didn't really see it during the summer. I didn't see this at that time, but it reoccurred a lot for me. And everybody would walk by. There was like asphalt that people could walk. It was a trail, and at one time there was a railing there, and then another time there wasn't a railing. But I'm just laying here, and that's what made me think about the future. Like this dream, it was just like, what if something is influencing us from the future? You know, we're all deeply connected, and we don't realize how connected we are to each other either. Like it's really hard to explain, really. Like I'm not good at articulating, but there's things we just don't understand. We think we know all this cool shit. Oh yeah, this. We don't know shit about quantum mechanics, really. We don't know much about quantum biology either. There's all this shit that we're learning and figuring out through science, and it's just mind blowing. Um, Psychedelics can kind of give you all those types of thoughts as well of what people are doing now, but you could also see stuff that's going to happen in the future. You may not be able to explain it either. You may not be the person that can put that thing together. Like Steve Jobs did LSD, a lot of Bob Ross, that painter, he did psychedelics. A lot of great people did psychedelics, and it really like helped them, right? Um, for me, doing psychedelics, I've been able to fix things around here. I'm like, oh, I know how to fix that because it go wrong, and I just kind of sitting there, just kind of think about it a little bit. One day, I'm like, oh, okay, I know how to fix that. Or if something goes wrong, I can kind of fix it kind of quickly now. For me, I've been seeing a lot of things that I've never built, right? Like I know how to build things I've never built, right? Which I think that just comes from my genetics. I think there's something to that. Which kind of like makes me think Assassin's Creed, like who did psychedelics and was thinking about your ancestry and stuff like that. How much LSD did they do? How much psychedelics did someone do? To think about that shit because our DNA comes from a certain place. The type of people we come from, there is something ingrained in us from that. And it can make us a way stronger person to understand where we really come from and what we're really supposed to do or what we can really do. Whether I had a job fixing things, that's irrelevant to me. Because I'd rather be funny and shit like that. I'd rather goof around and just be me and be stupid, right? Just stay stupid shit. That's all I want to say. I'd rather make a living just being me. Um, so, But I guess with that, I should end it here. But if you want to know any more, you have any other questions, I'll try to write some more stuff down of different things I've seen and stuff like that. This is a lot longer than I wanted it to be in the first place. But I mean, I rambled a little bit, talked about things, but it's all about psychedelics really, and different thoughts and different things you feel and visually taste and all that. I hope that helps. You know, I'll probably do some jokes and stuff, like a story time and stuff like that. I've gotten a lot of jokes, and I've been able to do different acts better. Like my fucking redneck act, like I'm a fucking man, I'm gonna shovel through my fucking shit. Like, I felt that part of me from my trip. So I've been able to develop that more. In the gay voice, obviously, I'm fabulous. We all know I'm gorgeous. Lord, yeah. Like, a lot of this I've gotten better at through psychedelics as well. So it's something I like doing. But yeah, if you have any more questions or anything like that, anybody that watches this whole video, thank you. You can always hit that nut button. But yeah, so any questions, leave them in the comments. I can always do a live stream at some point and talk about psychedelics and stuff like that. I don't know what music I could actually play. I found some beats and stuff that I could play that's copyright free, and some music I could play. But usually I like to sing in chat and stuff like that on there. But if people want that, I can do that. I just wanted to talk about this because some people wanted me to make a video. I don't know if I hit every point I need to hit. That's why I said if there's questions, leave it in the comments. I really do hope you enjoy the video. Because if you enjoy it, I'll give you a fucking hand job because I'm a dirty bitch. So we do got story time coming up as well before I leave this video. I do have some story times coming up as well. In the near future. I do want to do an Omegle one. That's going to be a fun story time for sure. I got some other stuff. I want to do some other jokes that I'm working on. I really have been writing stuff down. Like, I want to try to get a video or two up a week, if possible. If I can get one video up of some kind, like a Sing for Lols, which I should probably do more of those in the future here. But I should do more story times for sure, because those are hilarious, and I know they're funny, and I know people enjoy them. So I'm gonna try to do at least one of those a week right now, if I can. I can't promise anything, but that's my goal, is to be able to do something like that. Even if they're short clips or short whatever, I'm gonna do my best with that, all right? So just let me know things you want me to do, and I'll try to do them. If there are certain things you want me to make a story time about, I will definitely do it. But I've been trying to get content and work on jokes while using Omegle and stuff like that. So, and to talk to people about psychedelics and other nonsense, because people have asked me a lot of questions. And I do want you to know that I will have an Instagram and a Snapchat soon. I'm busy with a lot of other things as well. To close all this out, I will say that if I don't upload a video or I'm not able to do a live stream, it's because I'm helping people in Warzone get better at Warzone, because they want me to help them, and I would like them to get better. It'd be great. They have a good time with me, So, and I'm going to make another video later. I'll probably make one tomorrow about something else, or maybe tonight, But with that, I bid you adieu, and I love all of you, okay? Don't be afraid to call me a dirty slut in the comments, or fight over me and say, no, he's my boyfriend, no, he's mine, because that would be funny to me. You can call me whatever you want in the comments. You can call me Hentai Senpai. You can call me Daddy. You can call me a dirty slut, because we all know I am. Oh, God. So with that, I bid you adieu, and I love all of you, okay? Peace out.